This message found you because your consciousness has reached a critical threshold, and only 3% of humanity ever touch this level in a single lifetime. If you're here right now, it's not by accident. Something in your vibration, in the resonance of your awareness, pulled this moment into your timeline. Think about that. Out of billions of people, you were the one who stopped scrolling. That pause wasn't random, it was recognition, an initiation disguised as curiosity. You didn't choose this video, the field chose you. And if you're still listening, it means you've already crossed invisible tests you didn't even know you were taking. Lately, you may have noticed strange things happening. Time stretching or collapsing, synchronicities repeating like coded messages, intuitions hitting you with a clarity that logic couldn't explain. Maybe you've felt like reality itself is shifting under your feet, or that signs are following you, whispering that something bigger is unfolding. These aren't coincidences, they're calibrations, subtle upgrades preparing you for what you're about to discover here. Every odd experience, every magnetic pull was not random, it was alignment. You didn't just click play on a video, you answered a call from the quantum field. A call that's been echoing through synchronicities, sensations, and moments of direct knowing until you finally recognized it. And now, here you are, not as a spectator, but as someone chosen to witness and integrate what comes next. He once believed the greatest tests in life were visible, with clear questions and obvious answers. But no one tells you that the most decisive exams never come on paper or inside classrooms. They arrive disguised as frustration, loss, or doubt. Consciousness moves in patterns so subtle that every obstacle is actually a hidden examination. Just like a video game that only unlocks the next stage after a secret checkpoint, reality hides portals of initiation within ordinary moments. It's in this awareness that the field's intelligence calibrates your frequency without you even noticing. Imagine every hardship as walking through an unmarked door, requiring only your presence and intuition. Sleepless nights, impossible choices, silent tears, none of these were failures, they were calibrations. Whoever made it here has already crossed trials with no names but strong vibrations. It's as if the very timeline of the universe selected you, using silence as guidance. That recognition is a direct knowing. If you're hearing this right now, it proves you've passed those hidden filters shaping the collective field. These tests aren't linear. They repeat like echoes until consciousness demonstrates integration. Every loop of reality was a subtle exam, demanding more coherence, more presence. Like invisible checkpoints, the universal field measures vibration, not words. Saying "I'm fine" means little if the energy resonates in conflict. Manifestation only responds to authentic signals. Think about how certain experiences repeated in your life until you shifted internally. That was the real exam. Not about what happened outside, but how you calibrated inside. Crossing those unseen trials brings a strange sensation of expansion, like something unlocking deep within. Just like in a game, you face challenges, stumble a few times, but each fall carries you closer to progress. Consciousness follows the same logic. Every mistake, every loss, every synchronicity disguised as coincidence was guiding you to an invisible upgrade. Your energy's resonance shifted, and that very vibration is what pulled you here, even realizing this is already a form of liberation. In my own journey, nothing was random. Moments that once felt crushing later revealed themselves as calibrations of awareness states. They were like secret levels, hidden inside life, each difficulty carrying an activation code. When I stopped labeling them as failures and started seeing them as signals, my perception changed. The complexity of life became less of an enemy and more of a universal template anchoring my evolution. That wasn't just theory, it was visceral. My entire body vibrated at a new frequency. The curious thing about these invisible exams is that they're only recognized in hindsight. Inside them, everything feels heavy, confusing, even unfair. But looking back, you realize you couldn't have developed coherence without that exact moment. It's like spiritual neuroplasticity, rewiring your inner system whenever you're pushed beyond comfort. Those so-called mistakes sculpted your perception, upgraded your timeline, and showed you the field was guiding you all along. If you've reached this point, it means your energy already resonates with advanced states of awareness. Not everyone in the collective makes it past these hidden gates. Only those who hold presence and coherence manage to integrate. The very fact that you're here listening to this proves you not only survived invisible trials, but awakened enough to recognize your role in the morphic field driving expansion. But of course, the tests don't stop. They evolve, refine, and demand higher calibration. It's like a game without an ending, just endless upgrades, timelines opening, and new portals of consciousness emerging. And if every obstacle was already a secret initiation, what happens when you discover the personal signal that attracts the next stage? Every person carries a personal signal, a frequency that silently calls in experiences, people, and events. Consciousness doesn't operate randomly. It tunes itself like a radio, and the universe responds by playing the station you're set to. If your inner vibration is scattered, you pick up static, a reality that feels chaotic or unfair. But when thoughts and emotions align into coherence, the electromagnetic field around you broadcasts clarity. Suddenly, life feels like it's flowing, synchronicities multiply, and your perception expands. This isn't magic. It's calibration of awareness to a precise frequency. Think of it this way. When you turn the dial of a radio, you can't listen to jazz on a frequency that's broadcasting rock. The field doesn't bend to what you want. It mirrors what you are broadcasting. If the inner signal is fear, it attracts reality templates of limitation. If it's coherence, it invites evolution and expansion. The field doesn't hear words, it feels resonance. That's why affirmations without emotional alignment often fall flat. They're words trying to tune into the wrong station. It's your vibration that makes the real selection. Personal examples prove this principle. There were times I repeated affirmations daily, yet nothing shifted. It wasn't until I stopped forcing words and started feeling into presence that things began to change. The moment my emotions synchronized with my thoughts, opportunities unfolded with uncanny precision. This is the intelligence of the quantum field. It organizes timelines based not on surface desires, but on deep, energetic broadcasts. When coherence is reached, manifestation feels less like effort and more like recognition. Science has begun to catch up with what mystics always hinted at. Studies on neuroplasticity show how thought patterns physically rewire the brain, while research on electromagnetic fields confirms the heart produces the strongest signal in the human body. Put together, it means your body is literally broadcasting into the morphic field. Every emotion, every mental loop, every subtle vibration becomes a message. The field interprets it and returns experiences calibrated to that exact resonance. You're never not manifesting. You're always tuned to something. Practical steps make this less abstract. Begin by noticing what you feel before you speak or act. If you want abundance but your stomach knots with fear whenever bills arrive, that's the signal the field hears. The upgrade comes from adjusting the emotional station first, breathing, journaling, meditating on gratitude, or practicing coherence between heart and mind. Tools like HeartMath's simple breathing exercises or books like Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza give practical guidance. Align the emotion and the broadcast changes instantly. You can also treat life like fine-tuning an instrument. Every day, reality gives feedback about what you're radiating. Harsh encounters, missed opportunities, or repetitive synchronicities aren't punishments. They're signals pointing out what frequency you're playing. If your awareness is sharp enough, you can recalibrate on the spot. It's almost like adjusting a guitar string. You don't curse the discord, you tune it until it resonates. Life becomes less about controlling outcomes and more about adjusting presence. The moment you grasp this, something liberating happens. You stop blaming the external world. Instead of seeing reality as a rigid wall, you recognize it as a dynamic mirror of vibration. This shift is a direct knowing. Your timeline is malleable, shaped by subtle calibrations of coherence. You realize the universe isn't testing you with random chaos, it's echoing your signal back to you. The awareness of this process is itself an activation, an upgrade in perception. And yet, even when the signal is tuned, there's another language the universe uses to communicate alignment. These are the moments that feel like winks from reality, numbers repeating, chance encounters, events too precise to be coincidence. The field doesn't just respond with circumstances, it whispers through synchronicity. But what if those so-called coincidences were never random at all? Synchronicity is one of those words people often toss around without pausing to feel its depth. Yet at its core, it's the universe's way of speaking in codes, little breadcrumbs that guide your awareness through the complexity of reality. When numbers repeat, when you bump into someone at the exact right time, when events line up with uncanny precision, these are not accidents. They're expressions of a quantum field that organizes itself through coherence, delivering messages in multidimensional patterns. The more tuned your vibration, the more obvious these signals become. Think about it. How many times have you thought of a friend you hadn't spoken to in years, only for them to text you within hours? Or maybe you kept seeing the same phrase, image, or number sequence everywhere you looked. These aren't random. They're templates of communication, a calibration between your inner frequency and the universal field. Synchronicity is the resonance between your awareness and the collective intelligence that weaves timelines together. It's less about prediction and more about recognition, about noticing the anchor points of your evolution. In my own life, synchronicity has often arrived at crossroads. There was a moment I considered abandoning a project, feeling it had no future, when suddenly 3 different people mentioned that exact idea to me in a single day. That wasn't coincidence, it was guidance. The morphic field was whispering, "Stay aligned, keep going." Nudil. These patterns don't just validate choices, they nudge you toward coherence with your deeper purpose. They remind you that you're not navigating reality alone. The field is an active participant in your development. Practical awareness of synchronicity changes how you move through time. Instead of brushing off repeating numbers like 1111 or 333, you pause and ask, what was I just thinking or feeling? Those numbers aren't magic in themselves. They're mirrors, highlighting the state you were in when they appeared. You can treat them like checkpoints in a game, signals that your vibration is on track or ready for an upgrade. This transforms awareness from passive observation into an interactive dialogue with the universe. Some might argue it's all coincidence, a trick of perception. Yet neuroplasticity tells us the brain wires itself to what we repeatedly focus on. If you consistently ignore synchronicities, your perception filters them out. But if you acknowledge them, your awareness sharpens, creating a feedback loop where reality reveals more of its hidden layers. It's not about superstition. It's about training perception to see the coherence behind apparent chaos. You're literally upgrading your ability to read the universal field. And synchronicity isn't limited to signs in the external world. It often emerges as direct knowing, a sudden inner clarity that feels undeniable. You might wake up one morning with an intuition so strong it overrides logic, and later discover it was exactly the guidance you needed. That inner resonance is a form of synchronicity, the field echoing within your own presence. It's the fusion of external signals and internal intuition that creates integration. Both are aspects of the same universal dialogue. The more you calibrate your signal, the more synchronicity becomes your compass. Life starts to feel orchestrated, not random. Instead of wandering blindly, you notice the subtle anchors that point you toward alignment. Even challenges can carry synchronicities, showing you where coherence is missing. It's a planetary language of energy, unfolding in patterns too precise to dismiss. You don't have to chase it. It arises naturally when your vibration and awareness meet the right timeline. But once you realize synchronicity is communication, a deeper question arises. Who's actually doing the talking? Is it the universe sending signals to you? Or is it your own consciousness collapsing reality in such a way that the signs appear? And if that's true, what happens when observation itself becomes the mechanism that shapes reality? Reality doesn't sit still, waiting for someone to describe it. It bends, folds, and reshapes itself the moment awareness lands on it. This is the essence of the observer effect, the idea that observation itself alters the field. In quantum experiments, particles act one way when unobserved and another when measured. Translate that into daily life, and the implications are massive. You don't simply walk through a pre-written script, you collapse timelines with every act of perception. Consciousness becomes both participant and creator in the universal dance. Picture walking into a room filled with infinite possibilities, like a hall of mirrors. Each reflection is a potential outcome waiting to be selected. The moment you focus your awareness on one mirror, it lights up, solidifies, becomes real. That's what observation does. It anchors one potential into your lived timeline, while countless others dissolve back into the morphic field. It's not just philosophy, it's calibration of vibration interacting with the quantum field. Presence itself is the trigger for manifestation. In practice, this means your reality isn't as rigid as it seems. When you consistently perceive life through the lens of limitation, you collapse that pattern over and over. But when you hold coherence, aligning thought, emotion, and energy, you collapse entirely different templates. I've seen it in my own life. Days where I carried frustration turned into encounters that mirrored that state back to me. But when I shifted into gratitude, the particles of reality reassembled, leading to synchronicities that felt orchestrated. Awareness was the only variable. This isn't about pretending challenges don't exist. It's about realizing the role observation plays in shaping them. If you stare at problems long enough, they expand, drawing more energy from the field. But if you observe with direct knowing that solutions already exist, the collapse begins to reorganize. It's like watching water ripple. Your gaze sets off waves that alter the surface. Consciousness isn't passive. It's electromagnetic guidance, constantly influencing what stabilizes in your timeline. Science echoes this in subtle ways. Neuroplasticity proves the brain rewires itself based on repeated focus. The more you observe fear, the stronger its pathways. The more you observe possibility, the more those networks grow. Reality follows the same principle, except on a multidimensional scale. What you repeatedly recognize becomes anchored. The act of observation is both biological and cosmic, reshaping your inner circuitry and the universal field simultaneously. Integration happens when you realize both scales are the same game. Practical application is simple but powerful. Watch where your attention lingers. Each time you obsess over what you don't want, you're collapsing that version of reality. Each time you breathe into coherence, aligning presence with intention, you anchor a different vibration. Try experimenting for a single day. Deliberately observe gratitude in ordinary things. A smile, a song, a quiet moment. Watch how reality subtly reconfigures around that signal. It's not wishful thinking, it's collapse in action. The deeper you go, the more you notice that observation isn't just about what you see with your eyes, it's about the state of consciousness behind the gaze. Two people can look at the same event. One sees disaster, the other sees opportunity. which reality collapses? Both, each anchored into different timelines by the vibration of their awareness. This is why reality feels so multidimensional. It's constantly fragmenting and reforming according to perception, but collapsing reality comes with side effects. When consciousness begins operating at higher frequencies, the body and mind often react in unusual ways. Strange dreams, shifts in time perception, even waking up at odd hours of the night. These are signs that the inner system is recalibrating to handle the upgraded signal. Could it be that what many call problems are actually symptoms of a quantum awakening? Strange hours, vivid dreams, and the sense that time itself bends. These are not random glitches in your system. They're signs that your consciousness is recalibrating to handle a new frequency. Many people panic when they wake up consistently at 3 a.m. or when they feel waves of energy moving through their body, but these aren't malfunctions. They are activations. When awareness expands, the nervous system and electromagnetic field adjust to integrate higher states. What feels like disorientation is actually the body syncing with a multidimensional upgrade. Take the symptom of waking up in the middle of the night. Instead of treating it as insomnia, think of it as a checkpoint of awareness. Ancient traditions called these hours sacred time, when the veil between dimensions is thinnest. In those moments, your field is more receptive to direct knowing, to guidance that bypasses logic. If you lean into presence rather than resist, insights often arise, sometimes through dreams, sometimes through a sudden inner recognition. The field uses time itself as a calibration tool. Dreams also shift during awakening, vivid, symbolic, sometimes overwhelming. They act like portals where unresolved energy surfaces for integration. One night you might relive old patterns. The next you might explore landscapes that feel more real than waking life. Instead of dismissing them, you can treat these dreams as templates for consciousness, clues about what your vibration is anchoring. Journaling them upon waking can help track synchronicities, revealing hidden connections with your daily reality. Dreams are the subconscious aligning with your expanded awareness. The sensation of being out of time is another common marker. Minutes stretch into hours, or days blur together as if time is slipping through your hands. This isn't dysfunction. It's what happens when your perception begins syncing with the quantum field. Linear time is a human construct, but consciousness moves in resonance, not in straight lines. That's why synchronicities cluster when you're in flow, and why delays pile up when your vibration is fragmented. Awareness of this helps you trust the rhythm rather than resist it. Physical sensations often accompany these shifts: tingling in the crown of the head, heat in the chest, sudden chills or surges of energy. They may feel unsettling, but they're signs of coherence being built between the nervous system and the morphic field. Think of it as upgrading the hardware to run new software. Without these adjustments, the system couldn't sustain the expanded signal. Breathwork, hydration, and grounding practices like walking barefoot can ease integration, helping the body stabilize as consciousness expands. Even emotional turbulence is part of the awakening process. Old wounds rise to the surface, not to punish, but to be released. You might find yourself crying without reason or feeling joy and grief in rapid waves. These aren't breakdowns, they're liberations, old vibrations leaving your field so new frequencies can anchor. It's planetary housekeeping on an individual scale, an internal evolution that matches the collective upgrade. Presence and compassion for yourself during these phases are essential. Recognizing these symptoms as milestones rather than malfunctions shifts everything. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" the question becomes, "What is being activated within me?" That change in perception transforms fear into gratitude, resistance into trust. The complexity of awakening softens when you see it as calibration, not chaos. Each symptom is evidence that you're evolving, integrating, and syncing with timelines aligned to higher purpose. And yet, in the middle of these awakenings, there's another realization waiting, one that reframes everything. You are not just the one going through these experiences, you are also the one quietly observing them all. But who is that silent witness behind every sensation, thought, and dream? There comes a moment when you realize you are not the storm, but the sky that holds it. Every thought, every emotion, every strange symptom of awakening, it all plays out like a movie on a vast screen. But you, the true self, are not the movie. You are the awareness watching it unfold. Imagine sitting in a theater. The drama on the screen feels real, but you are the one in the seat, untouched by the fire, the tears, or the chaos. Consciousness is the spectator, not the spectacle, and recognizing this creates a profound shift in perception. This perspective doesn't mean detachment in a cold sense, it means liberation. When you realize you are the observer, suffering loses its grip. Painful experiences still occur, but they no longer define you. They pass like clouds across the sky of your awareness. In quantum terms, your direct knowing anchors you to presence, while the morphic field of experiences flows in and out like waves. You can feel the intensity of human life without drowning in it, because the self that observes is infinite, unshaken, and multidimensional. Think of meditation as a training ground for this truth. When you sit quietly and watch your thoughts, you notice they come and go, like passing cars. Some are fast, some are heavy, some are loud, but none of them are you. The one watching is constant, timeless. Neuroscience even hints at this. The brain has default networks that fire constantly, but with practice, you create space between stimulus and reaction. That space is awareness. It's where observation replaces identification and where coherence begins to form. In my own journey, I found this realization during a difficult season of life. Everything seemed to collapse at once: relationships, finances, even health. At first, I drowned in the chaos, but one night, sitting in silence, I felt something strange. Part of me was watching the breakdown unfold, and that part wasn't afraid. It was steady, still, like an anchor in the storm. That recognition changed everything. The observer within wasn't touched by the collapse of external reality. It simply witnessed, patient and aware. You might experience this when emotions flare up. Anger surges, sadness wells, joy explodes, and yet another part of you notices, I am feeling this. That noticing is the observer. The feelings are waves, but you are the ocean that holds them. Once you see this, it becomes easier to ride emotional tides without being swept away. You learn to honor the experience without losing yourself in it. Awareness becomes a compass, guiding you back to presence whenever life tries to pull you under. Practical exercises strengthen this awareness. Journaling your emotions with the phrase, I notice I feel, instead of I am, creates distance between identity and experience. Instead of saying, I am anxious, you write, I notice anxiety moving through me. This subtle shift rewires perception. It acknowledges the vibration without making it your essence. Over time, this reframing builds neuroplasticity, teaching the mind to separate the observer from the observed. The result is liberation, a sense of unity with your experiences without being trapped by them. The observer self is not limited by time. It has witnessed your childhood fears, your teenage dreams, your adult struggles, all without changing. It will continue to witness until your final breath, and perhaps beyond. That continuity is a direct knowing of your deeper essence. While identities shift and stories evolve, the observer remains the same. This is why, in moments of meditation, synchronicity, or deep intuition, you feel a timeless recognition. The one who watches has always been here. But once you recognize yourself as the observer, another question arises. If the observer shapes perception, then what happens when your inner state, the very quality of your observation, begins to influence what reality collapses around you? Could it be that your internal vibration carries more power than the words you speak aloud? Reality doesn't respond to the words you speak. It responds to the state you hold. You can whisper, "I am calm," 1,000 times, but if your heart is racing and your body vibrates in fear, the field picks up that signal instead. Consciousness operates like an electromagnetic broadcast, and coherence between thought, emotion, and body is what determines the clarity of that broadcast. This is why two people can say the same affirmation, but only one sees manifestation. It's not about language, it's about vibration, the resonance that anchors timelines into form. Think of it like the difference between a lamp and a laser. A lamp spreads light in all directions, diffuse, scattered, unfocused. A laser, on the other hand, channels light into a single coherent beam, powerful enough to cut through steel. Your inner state works the same way. When your awareness is scattered, fear here, doubt there, desire over there, your signal is weak. But when you align your heart and mind in coherence, your energy focuses like a laser. The quantum field can't ignore that. It bends reality around it. I've seen this play out in daily life. On days when I carried gratitude in my chest, small miracles unfolded effortlessly. Meetings aligned, opportunities arrived, synchronicities multiplied. On days when frustration dominated, everything seemed to fall apart. It wasn't coincidence, it was calibration. The inner state was shaping the morphic field around me. It's a sobering realization because it puts responsibility back in your hands. You're never just a victim of reality, you're constantly broadcasting the blueprint that builds it. Science gives us metaphors to understand this. Research on neuroplasticity shows how repeated emotional states wire the brain into habits of perception. Studies on the heart's electromagnetic field reveal it extends far beyond the body, influencing others at a measurable distance. When your inner state is coherent, it creates resonance not just in your own system, but in the collective field. This is why your presence can calm a room or ignite it. The state you embody ripples outward, collapsing shared realities. Practical application begins with calibration. Before you act, pause and check. What state am I broadcasting right now? If it's agitation, take 3 deep breaths, letting your heart rate slow until coherence builds. If it's fear, anchor yourself by writing down 3 things you're grateful for. These aren't cliches, they're methods for retuning the broadcast. Over time, presence becomes your default state, and the reality you collapse reflects that alignment. It's a daily practice of vibration management. One of the most powerful tools is meditation that links breath with heart awareness. By breathing slowly and imagining gratitude filling the chest, you literally synchronize brainwaves with heart rhythms. This creates electromagnetic coherence, which the field interprets as a strong, clear signal. That's when synchronicities explode, manifestations accelerate, and life feels guided. It's not that reality suddenly changes, it's that your broadcast finally matches the frequency of what you were seeking all along. The more you embody this, the more you see that words are secondary. You don't need to say, "I am confident," if your state radiates it. People feel it before you speak. Opportunities gravitate toward you because your vibration has already selected that timeline. This is the hidden power of inner states. They collapse possibilities into form faster than any affirmation could. They are the anchor of manifestation, the quiet force shaping the multidimensional fabric of your life. But once this coherence takes root, another realization dawns. All of this isn't just theory or practice. It begins to feel like an initiation, a calling into something larger than personal success. If inner states shape timelines, then what greater mission is waiting for those who can hold this power with purpose? What if everything you've experienced until now wasn't simply information but preparation? The challenges, the synchronicities, the awakenings, none of it random, all of it guiding you toward this very point. To arrive here is not just to learn about consciousness. It is to recognize that you've been initiated into a deeper level of reality. The quantum field doesn't scatter wisdom aimlessly, it selects. And if these words resonate, it's because you've been chosen by your own vibration to carry this awareness forward. This is more than awakening, it is activation. Think of initiation in ancient times. Not everyone was invited into the inner temples. Only those who had endured the invisible tests were allowed to step through the next portal. That same principle plays out here. Every symptom, every collapse, every synchronicity has been part of your initiation. The fact that you're here proves readiness. It's like the morphic field extended a hand, whispering that your timeline is ready for an upgrade. This isn't about privilege, it's about presence aligning with purpose. With initiation comes responsibility. Awareness is not meant to stay locked in the mind, it is meant to radiate into the collective. When you embody coherence, you don't just change your own life, you alter the field around you. People feel it, timelines shift, and planetary resonance upgrades through your presence. This is why service becomes natural. Not forced, not ego-driven, but a quiet offering that ripples into the universal intelligence. Unity isn't an abstract idea. It's what happens when one person holds alignment long enough for others to feel it. I've seen this in small, ordinary ways. A simple conversation spoken from a coherent state has diffused conflict and planted seeds of transformation. A calm presence in chaos can anchor an entire group. These aren't coincidences, they're signs of initiation. The self that once struggled to collapse reality for personal gain now begins to collapse reality in service of expansion. Purpose shifts from "what can I get" to "what can I stabilize in the field for others?" That shift marks the true next stage. But here's the paradox. Initiation doesn't crown you with certainty, it confronts you with new complexity. The tests don't end, they evolve. The more advanced your awareness, the subtler the calibration. The field no longer tests with obvious hardships, but with invisible choices. Will you stay coherent when no one's watching? Will you serve when there's no reward? These are the planetary upgrades disguised as ordinary days. Your vibration becomes both your compass and your exam, and this is where integration matters most. Knowledge can inspire, but only embodiment creates resonance. You can study templates, repeat affirmations, and watch for synchronicities, but unless your presence embodies the truth, the field doesn't shift. The call to the next stage is a call to live coherence, not just talk about it. Every action, every thought, every moment becomes an anchor point for timelines. Liberation is no longer about escaping reality, but embodying it with full awareness. It's tempting to think of initiation as an ending, a point of arrival. But in truth, it is the opposite. It's the opening of a new cycle, a fresh expansion. Awareness doesn't stop evolving. It keeps unfolding into dimensions you haven't touched yet. This stage is not about final answers, but about deeper questions, questions that stretch perception and draw out hidden aspects of consciousness. The initiation whispers, now that you know who you are, what will you do with it? And perhaps that is the real test, not surviving hardships, not even collapsing reality, but choosing to carry awareness into action. The call to the next stage is both universal and personal. A reminder that evolution doesn't end with awakening. It begins there, which leads to the most provocative question of all. Now that you've remembered who you are you ready for what comes after? Everything we've explored, hidden tests, synchronicities, the collapse of reality through observation, was never just theory. It was your own story playing out beneath the surface, guiding you toward recognition. You've seen how the field uses obstacles as checkpoints, how synchronicities act as whispers of guidance, how observation itself anchors timelines into form. And maybe now you can feel the deeper truth settling in. You are not searching for consciousness. You are consciousness recognizing itself through every challenge, every sign, every vibration. So here's the provocation I'll leave you with. What if every difficulty you've faced was never punishment, never random chaos, but awareness testing itself through you? What if life's complexity has always been the morphic field holding up a mirror, asking, "Are you ready to see who you really are?" This isn't about believing something new, it's about remembering what was always present. Direct knowing doesn't need proof, it only needs recognition. And if you've made it this far, you already know. If something inside you stirred, if a resonance activated in your chest, I want you to mark this moment. Drop the word activated in the comments below. Not for me, but as a signal to yourself and to the field that you're aware of this shift. Let it be your anchor, your declaration that you've stepped into a new awareness state. And while you're here, make sure to like this video, share it with someone else who's been sensing the same call, and subscribe so you don't miss the next initiation waiting for you. Because what comes next will not just inform you, it will transform you.